around us that knew anything, and like mum was just confused why we were quitting our job. She was just happy, we were doing well for ourselves, and like we were like, we have no idea what to do.
You're still in America?
Still in America.
We're still in America at this point.
And it's a ticking time bomb because visa's running out.
From Ministry of Work, welcome to Greater Manchester's Greatest Minds podcast, a show about Greater Manchester's pioneers, entrepreneurs and visionaries, and the stories that brought their ideas to life. I'm Eddie Whittingham, and today we're joined by Niall and Morgan Ratcliffe, two brothers who went from growing up in Manchester to playing football in the US, to building one of the UK's fastest growing marketing agencies. They never planned to start a business. Coming from a working class background, they didn't even think entrepreneurship was an option. But when football took them to America, they saw a completely different world, and it changed everything.
Yeah, so we grew up in Burnley. Family ended up moving just outside Burnley, and that's kind of where we started in life. Dad worked in a factory, slowly worked his way into the office. Mum was a teacher, and it was a very normal kind of working class UK childhood. And we always joke about this, but we didn't even know back then that business or entrepreneurship or doing well for yourself was a thing. Like what you did was you went to school, and if you did really well, you went to uni, and then you might get a job and you might get 35,000 a year, and you've won it.
Happy.
Yeah, you've won at life, and that was kind of the goal initially growing up, and me and Morgan both were playing football at the time. Not a full life story, playing football at the time, and we got the opportunity through football to end up going to play in America university. Cool. And when we did that, kind of the entire life started to change in terms of like we got to see what possibilities were out there.
Rich people.
Yeah.
Well, they've opened your eyes though, didn't it? Because I'm from Scunthorpe, like bit of a generic kind of working class background, and I, like you, didn't know what opportunities were out there. It was kind of like,
know rich people existed.
No, genuinely.
We just didn't know that rich people existed.
Genuinely.
Crazy. And our school was a private school, and I think it was about $40,000 to $50,000 a year to go. So everyone who was around us was...
So you guys on like a football scholarship?
Yeah, we were on a scholarship.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
we lived in one room. We had no food paid for. Like it was proper. We were like proper dregs of it, and everybody else was doing really well. So like, I'm getting an allowance from my father's accountant. It was like a statement that we heard.
Yeah, we had a friend who had one car. It was a Jeep, and it was like $75,000. But he had a college car as well. It's like so he didn't crash the Jeep at college, and it was like
different life.
And it was a really different life, and everyone around us had like successful parents, and like we had so many friends who were like, we'd go to like their house and you see their family and like, oh, these are normal people, but 100 times more successful than I ever thought we could be. And kind of everything about our lives changed from then.
Did it massively impact your mindset at that age, or not really? Were you
Massively,
like
massively?
Was there any green-eyed monster stuff, or was it more like I need some
second
of that?
year of university? So like this is allegedly, by the way, you can't work while you're in the US. Yeah. So it was one of those things where you're like, right, we now had zero money. Like we were going to a food bank to get food through the week,
shit.
And everybody else was killing it. So me and Niall allegedly
killing it, getting handers from
everyone,
that's not killing it.
Everyone's on the out spending. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the
yeah.
whole thing. So like during that second year or third year whilst we were there, Niall and I were applying for jobs in the UK, remote jobs in the UK, and basically just saying, can we get a job to fund our lifestyles? And eventually we both allegedly ended up with jobs in the UK online, and we were both getting up allegedly at 2 a.m. on UK time, working UK jobs while we were in the US.
Fucking hell.
So we did 9, nearly 12 months of waking up, working a UK job on UK time, 7 hours time slip, working through the day, and then doing a normal day at night. Just we were both like, I just can't be poor anymore. Like, this is just not acceptable.
Was this while doing the scholarship as well?
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Morgan was in finance at the time. He was working allegedly for a company in the UK doing finance, and that's when I just first got into marketing. But yeah, like for us, it was just this massive realization that like, oh, there's like a whole. It was like I'd woke up and I'd only been seeing 5% of the world, and I'd just seen the rest of it, and I was like, these are really normal people living completely different lives. And like the idea of spending $75,000 on a car was crazy. Having two cars as a kid, 18 in college, was like
wild, isn't it?
We didn't even understand it, and it was like the simple things for us of like we used to have like buying energies under the bed, and it'd be like a case of like, and we were like, wow, we wouldn't buy one. Like we were like stealing protein bars from Walmart allegedly, and we were just trying to get by. And it was like these people like would just spend money, and like spending money for us then was like we had a friend called Steph, and like on a night out we'd go into Walmart And he'd be like, boys, I've got you something to be 5 protein bars. And he'd be like, they're £1 each. You know what I mean? Spent my 5. And we were like, crazy. He's
cheers,
so
mate.
rich.
Yeah,
Right, he's so rich. Like he's buying protein bars. But yeah, it completely opened our eyes. And I don't think we've ever kind of looked back since. That was the real turning point for like what our lives could be.
So how long were you in the US then?
I did 6 years. Now I ended up doing 4 or something.
Yeah, 4.
Only because I'm a couple of years older. So I went when I was 18.
Yeah.
And then obviously when Niall got to 18, he did the same thing. So I did 6 years, did a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. Got lucky because COVID gave me an extra couple of years during that the master's degree in finance. That's when we were working online and we were doing the UK remote stuff. And that's kind of when Niall was doing marketing at the same time, doing the remote stuff too.
And that was just as employees somewhere, just kind of learning a bit of a trade almost while studying.
Kind of. Maybe like jobs that you would have expected full-time employees to get that had finished studying.
All right.
And then they think...
decent experience.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And then you wake up in the morning and like all the lights go on in the apartment. You sit down, laptop, remote work. You're taking your first meeting at 9 a.m, but for us it's 2:30.
Fucking hell.
Like, we did that for a year, just to be clear. And then when we started the business...
And then... was your footy shit at the same time? Because you must be knackered.
We were always shit.
Not as shit as I am, because you got a scholarship.
We're always bad. I think after year 1, we actually we tried really hard in year 1 at football, and we did reasonably well as a team and individuals. And I think, like I said, that shift happened in like, it's ironic, so many people stay in the game of football and like cling to it. And
I was about to ask that. Yeah, like, did you go there thinking like I can really make a career in this, or was it kind of like we'll go for the crack?
Such a mistake, man. That's such a mistake, and like we talk about this all the time now and I. But there's like you've got to leave something before it wants to leave you, before it kicks out on you. And like we still know people now that are 27, 28, 29, and they're still chasing it. And then you realize one day you're going to wake up at 31, and actually you've had no real world skill set. And maybe you had a good time kicking it about in the lower leagues. But the truth is, like, I played for Mansfield Town, for example, in League Two, and when I was 16 to 18, and we won back-to-back league titles, and a lot of those boys got pro contracts, and basically none of them are playing now. And it's like, right, well, you're on a gradual... You have to be 17 breaking into the Man City team. That's going to change your life. You can't be 25, 26. So when we used to have these conversations quite early when we were in the US, and it was like, you can use football. It's an amazing opportunity to use it as a springboard, but it's just not something that you want to cling on to, because you get to 27, 28, 29, and it's like, well, you're not going to break into the Prem. Now you're going to play 6th tier non-league, but you've actually got no real skill set, and it's really difficult.
Can I just add, there's nothing wrong with 6th tier non-league. I'm going to go watch Scunthorpe tomorrow.
But it is, and we always say people cling to the Jamie Vardy story. And it's like,
that's like 1 in a billion made it.
And guess what? People win the lottery. It doesn't mean like you're going to sit every week and do it full time.
You're still open, right?
Yeah.
We know a lot of people quite intimately. They're like, I could still make it. I'm one good season away from making it. And I think we got quite lucky that we got to see these people that had jobs outside of football. Because if you'd have asked 18-year-old me, like what I thought about football, I'd have been like, I'm in the Prem. I'm going to be in the Prem. Yeah. And then we got exposed to this other world, and we were like, actually
there's other ways to, And I think that's interesting. Like, for you guys, it's been a vehicle, hasn't it, to go and have that amazing experience, open your eyes and see new horizons. Go, actually, there's a different world here.
And everyone should do it. Like, I didn't do A levels, and then did an economics degree and a master's degree in finance. That's
both got BTEC in sport.
Every word of that is true. Like, I left school at 16 with basically nothing, and then did a BTEC in sport, did 2 years playing football, and now I have a master's degree in finance. And it's like, well, that doesn't even make sense. That doesn't work in the UK. But it was just because I was half decent at football, I played in League Two. Like, I weren't exactly. I'm a 5'11" ginger kid. I weren't exactly bally. But yeah, I would recommend everybody do it.
Yeah, that's class. So you've come back from America then. Well, or not? No. Hang on.
We didn't come back from America.
So the story of whether get into the business of, so I was in marketing at the time, and I'd started a newsletter. And the truth is, I was in.
Was this your own marketing thing, or was this working for somebody?
Working for someone,
right?
So I was in marketing, personal branding, working for a London startup, and I was trying to do this job, and I got it a little bit, but the truth is, I knew I didn't know anything about marketing, so I set myself a challenge of I was going to write one marketing breakdown every Saturday. And I just find a marketing strategy and just like I'd break it down more so for me to learn.
Yeah,
I just like
almost like revision, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, if I can break it down and I send it out every Sunday, and I'll just set that as mandatory, something will hopefully advance my marketing knowledge, and I'll just learn some things. And I started to tell Morgan about newsletters, and he started a finance newsletter. And at the time, we would, you send them to like your mum. No one's reading them. And we started doing it more and more, and I started posting on LinkedIn to get people to read the newsletter. So I was working this job, and I said, I'm getting some traction on LinkedIn. So I was like, Morgan, you should be posting on LinkedIn as well. He was like, you're an idiot who posts on LinkedIn. It's so cringy.
Stand by it.
Yeah, and we both started posting on LinkedIn a lot. I had this job, and the more I was posting on this, I was getting job offers, and like I said, like 30k a year was like an absolute dream, and I was just below that at the time, and I got like one 30k job offer, then another one, and I was like, oh my god, I am like caking it, I'm about to be so rich. And then someone actually offered essentially my full-time wage to just be a client of theirs and just do it was their newsletter at the time, and I was like, oh my god, so is any good brotherhood? I called Morgan, and I was like, I think this guy is like said we can work for him as like a thing, like what should we do? And he's like, should we start a business? And I was just thinking about this recently.
So your idea?
No. Definitely like
a long
he called me
call.
needing like it was an hour or so. We're like, there's something here, yeah.
I think when you, and this is the interesting thing when people start a business, like you have those early kind of, I don't know, not red flags, like positive signs that you go, I'm getting approached repeatedly for a job. That's pretty much a surefire way that you are valuable enough to be doing it on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is still 2 a.m. in the US at this point, by the way.
We're still working. I'm still at university. I'm 23 now. I think I was maybe 19 at the time.
Right.
Maybe just gone 20. And I was thinking this recently, like Ash Jones, or a lot of people have like this amazing story into a business where like they learn from like some, and we just don't have that story. And our story was literally just like, someone's offered us money here. Should we try and start a business? And we did that, and we started delivering for that client. We got some good results, and we were like, okay, let's post on LinkedIn and quit our jobs and try something. So I handed in my notice, and the next day, literally I handed my notice one day, the next day I posted on LinkedIn, I'm going to take on clients here. And I think we hit a 6-figure run rate within about 11 days.
Fucking hell.
From that. And
what was your, at that time, like what sort of follower count did you have? Like, was it massive?
5,000.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
5,000, yeah. And don't get me wrong, we were charging about 1,000 a month. We had some clients on like 500 a month. Like it was,
It's
an easy
level.
Yeah,
stuff,
it's an easy offer.
Correct.
And
but even so, to get that level of traction for so early on is like
we used an initial win.
Isn't
So like we launched off the back of an initial win. Like we took an initial client on board, and then we did an initial piece of client work. You know what Niall mentioned. They brought in a load of monthly recurring revenue, and we were like, oh my God, there's something here. That's when we decided to quit the jobs, and that's when we then launched. And then we were like, right, well, we already know we can do X for Y, so all we've got to do is push here and bring in more business. And like Niall said, suddenly we were doing 100 grand a year or something in the first 10 days.
Yeah, that's
like
class.
I think people say it's class. I think arguably the best and worst thing that ever happened to us was getting early traction, because
Interesting.
when we got the early traction, we had zero business experience. I didn't understand what a business was.
Yes.
Anything about it. And it was like, now we have a business, and it's like we didn't know how to invoice, we didn't know how to.
Yeah, so all of a sudden you're sort of playing
board.
catch up.
And no one around us that knew anything. And like, Mum was just confused why we were quitting our job. She was just happy, we were doing well for ourselves, and like we were like, we have no idea what to do.
You're still in America.
Still in America.
We're still in America at this point.
And it's a ticking time bomb because visa's running out.
It's interesting because I had like a really slow sort of start. I just started selling services initially, and then when I sort of pivoted to the SaaS model that I did, like my first client was 15 quid a month. Okay, so it took me quite a while to climb the ladder, but I suppose to the opposite of that, it gave me a chance to like, oh well, this is how I do an invoice for 15 quid, even though it's not really worth the 15 minutes it's taken me to write the invoice.
Yeah, and we knew nothing. We knew nothing about business. We had no one to lean on either. It's like we had no one in the family, no one we could do anything with.
And that's a real like pain point for people who are from backgrounds where there's like the family's not in business, the mum and dad aren't in business, there's no extended family or friends who are not in business. Like it's that learning curve there is huge, and it's like vastly underestimated how hard that bit is.
Yeah, and the business was a complete shit show. Like we were some clients where we didn't invoice for 6 months back, and like we forgot to invoice. Like, and it was like 6 months time, we were like, shit, we've got 6 invoices now. Like, yeah, we're leaving. It's like perfect.
Yeah,
you just invoiced for like 6 months, and it was a complete mess. But I think one thing we did in that time was like the only thing we could rely on was our results for clients. Like we didn't know how to do anything else in business, but we kind of got this marketing thing, and it was like we can just deliver for clients and keep delivering for clients. And that's what we were doing.
Bit, right?
And like we kind of, ironically, regret it a little bit now, but like we let all the foundations go. We were like, if we don't invoice them, who cares? Like as long as everyone's happy, like we don't need any crazy money. Like no employees, and that's what we did at that time. It was absolutely chaos, and still chaos sometimes. But yeah, and ironically, it's just slowly grew from there. We still took on more clients, got better results, talked about the results, profiles grew. And slowly but surely we hired 1 person, 2 people, and we had about 8 fully remote, and we got to about 15 remote, maybe slightly less than that remote, and then literally just in December we brought things in person, opened up Manchester office, we did in Wilmslow office, and yeah, everything's been honestly crazy since then. And it is in ebbs and flows. I always, when I talk about it, a lot of people think like, oh, it's all amazing because you don't talk about the negative.
Yeah, no, it's never.
So it's always like two
none
steps
of
back,
yeah,
2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2
exactly.
steps forward, 1 step back.
And people like to focus on like the successes, but it's all of it's up and down in it.
Chaotic, yeah. And like
We've not had a day off
people.
in 4 years, man. Just to be clear, Crystal. Like, it's been one of those where, and like now missed out kind of Portugal in that little bit there, but we basically had this option when we were in America, and we basically had the conversation of, so I had an opportunity to go and work in investment banking in Chicago off the back of my degree. Niall had an opportunity to go make good money in marketing. And we were in the US, like we could have kept US visas and stayed there. And instead we were like, right, let's move back to the UK and try and build the business. And then we were like, the UK is not even the best place to build the business. Like we want to save as much money as we can. So we looked around cheap countries in Europe that had low tax rates and low cost of living. We went on a 4-day holiday to Porto in Portugal. And then we signed on a 2-year lease on an apartment there. And we just said, we're just going to build the business from here. So we just moved in, 0 Portuguese. We had 1 employee. We had
0.
10 clients. It was a nightmare. Like it was an absolute nightmare. Moved to this, and then obviously between that 2 years from us first moving to Porto and as leaving Porto, we went from 0 employees to 15 or 16, and it's one of those where you have to sit down and say like, right, well, there are those ebbs and flows, but actually it's like if you just turn up every day, wake up super early and get after it, like, and that's your only priority.
It's funny, isn't it? I see loads of like startups where they just focus on the wrong things, and ultimately it's just if you get up like you say every day and graft, and like it's not, we shouldn't celebrate like
leverage too. There has to be good leverage, but important is like, is your sole focus getting this from A to B? And like that's, I think, at least now and I are a testament. We're not hardcore hard work people, because I do think leverage is massive. Like, are you leveraging technology? Are you leveraging people? Yeah. Are you focusing on the right things? Like, are you working on the right thing right now? But the actual like honest truth of it is that we just sat down and we were like, we're going to grow this business. We took ourselves out of a distracting situation, which could have been coming back home, birthdays, family, friends, all this type of stuff. Moved to a remote location, so like, right, we're just going to grow the business. We didn't leave the apartment, and like we just worked there for 2 years, and we still do that now. So we're not doing things. We're not got social
you're not living
lives.
this crazy, exciting,
We've not
glamorous life. You are just grafting. It's
not
mad, isn't it? Though
social
people
life.
expect it to be like this hugely exciting thing, and I used to sort of laugh like these people who like have these vlogs of their daily life. When I was building mine, I was like, I fucking sit at a desk all day.
We always
I do
think
like
about
online
it.
demos or sales calls. Like, no one wants
It's
to see
so
this
boring,
shit.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so boring.
And then you see all these people on the beach. You're like, you're not building a business, mate. No way. If you're just sat there like filming yourself on the beach, you ain't building shit.
And you're just not keeping up with things.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing that people forget, especially from a marketing perspective, is that things are just changing
100%
rapidly
in
all
your
the time.
game, yeah.
And if we're just taking weeks and days off, it's like, well, new features, new product, new things that are working, new trends, new ideas, new direction. And like, if you're chipping away at every single day, reading, writing, being involved in the space, working 24/7, then you don't miss those new things. You can implement them quickly. We can have a conversation and say, do we think this would be a great direction? Like Niall mentioned, we just hired a full video team in office because we were like, well, that's a great direction. Let's start to look and push that because that's working. We're getting millions of views on video. Let's double down. And like, if you're there, the issue is when you start saying, oh, I'm going to do 2 or 3 months somewhere else to work it and slow it down, and you come back
100%.
and then other agencies have pushed
See that
forward.
time and time again. Yeah, I guess the challenge for you guys though, are you starting to find a balance, or you got a bit of a plan to try and find a balance? Because you will hit a wall if you haven't already.
No, I think. Do you know, I have all this back and forth on burnout, and recently I did get ill, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I've got to like have everything pristine, and like I'm working out because like there is a lot of like load on the body, but like I feel like burnout often comes to people who are doing things they don't enjoy and pushing through it, and for like us, it really doesn't feel like work.
if you
Like,
enjoy
yes, it's
it.
massively stressful, and sometimes it's worse, but we also have nothing to lose. Like the worst case scenario, I always joke, is like, if let's say you went to 0 on revenue this month, and like for some reason everyone just didn't pay us, like we'd put our money back in the business, make sure staff were paid, and like we'd have 4 weeks to get clients back in the door to pay wages the next month.
And you just double down and do it, wouldn't you? By hook or by crook, you just
And
do
it's
it.
like, and let's say the very worst case scenario, the business went under. It'd be like, right, well, we've got reasonable savings now. We'd go back, even if we're moving with the parents, and we'd just be like, right, let's
time to
let's
knuckle
try
down again. Yeah.
And it's like, well, if that's the worst case scenario, like the stress can't get that bad. And like, don't get me wrong, yeah, we have stressful times. Last probably 3 years, but like last 6 weeks has been stressful because we've been growing and different things happening. It's like, if you enjoy it and you turn up every day and there's people around you that you enjoy working with, it's like it really is tough to burn out, because I look forward to going to the office. We do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday office. I look forward every Tuesday to going into the office. And it's like, sometimes
It's a
I'm-
weird one. I think people who have never sort of had their own business don't get like, on a Sunday, I'm like, come the fuck on, let's go back to work.
Momentum,
It's
man.
sad.
It's like having this momentum in your life that takes you from A to B. Like I think a lot of people wake up and think, well, let me get through this week. Whereas we're like, there's a destination almost.
You almost
that we're
want
trying
to,
to
you
work
almost want to slow time down rather than speed it up.
Correct.
Yeah,
If there was more hours in the day, then we would have more time to get more stuff done, and then more time to build more traction. And we joke all the time that like we could actually do whatever we wanted. And like this is like we are showing by the fact that we've moved into the new office in Manchester, and this is what we're trying to do is because that's where we want to be, and that's what we want to do, and that's the fun part where it's like, well, actually, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. So, well, what would I rather be doing? Sitting on a beach somewhere? How long can you sit on a beach for? I want to travel. How many countries can you travel to? You do 6 months of traveling.
And when do you stop?
Yeah, you do 3 years of traveling. Now you've been to all the countries. It's a Monday morning. You wake up. What are you doing on that Monday morning? And for us, that's like, well, I get to scale a fun agency with my younger brother. Like, well, what more do you want? It's like we're building a fun, exciting business that we're passionate about with people that we like. Like the office is it's just a banter session. Like everyone's just taking the piss. Everyone's trying to make everybody laugh. Like we're building fun campaigns. Like everyone's having a good time. And yeah, there's stressful days like Niall said, but like kind of what more do you want is the feel. So
yeah, we always joke that if you took the agency away from us, what we'd do? We'd say start a marketing agency.
yeah,
Exactly.
It's like
just start another marketing agency. Yeah. So when it comes to like hitting the wall, also like we're really like one thing that I think a lot of people miss business owner wise is that we're really dialed in on other areas of life in general.
Yeah.
So like
you're into fitness.
disgustingly
and everything else.
healthy. Like we're talking about areas we can optimize in terms of the nutrition we're taking. We're constantly supplementing. We're both working out. Like one of the reasons we moved where we moved because of the gym and like focusing on that health massively. Like we also do like loads of big fitness challenges. Like we hit a marathon together last year, a couple of marathons this year. I'm going to do an Ironman this year. Like we are focused on individual health at the same time as growing the business.
Yeah.
So it isn't just like, oh yeah, you're just running it 24/7 on a laptop. It's like, well, we're very conscious of what we're doing here.
Yeah, and working hard to be the best outside of work in other ways.
Correct.
What's it been like for your relationship? Have you got any other siblings?
yeah, we got a younger brother.
Tubes, big shout out Tubes.
Oh no, poor Tubes.
He's 15. He's 15.
Oh, okay, fine.
So
Yeah. He can come in later.
He goes on
Yeah,
football. He
yeah,
just loves his
Oh,
life.
fine.
He's chilling.
Yeah, he's living the dream.
Yeah.
He's got those older brothers now who can palm him some money.
Yeah. He's on with 2 cars.
Throwing cash at Tubes, throwing cash at Tubes. I kind of started to say earlier before the podcast, but I think one thing that people massively miss about relationships with family and business is quite similarly to the same reason people get married, which is if you're just dating someone and you get into an argument, there's this opportunity for one party to just leave and there is no real friction there. And if you're married, for example, then you can be a bit more of your authentic self, be a bit more honest because you know that person isn't going to leave.
Yeah.
So like one of the real hacks that I think Niall and I have is that there are no punches pulled at all 24/7. If that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea. If that's a good idea.
Yeah, and you're quite
we'll
happy to
debate
die on
any
your separate
topic
hills, aren't you?
at any time because I know that I'm going to be 70 and I'm going to have a relationship with his kids. And like we're going to be having dinner one day, you know, living in the same neighborhood. And like he's going to be there my entire life. So what does it matter if we have a spat about a campaign today?
Because we'll wake up tomorrow.
He's
and be
not leaving,
normal
I'm
tomorrow.
not leaving. And it's been a really, really great opportunity for us to just like really stress test ideas, what works, what doesn't. And there's no, oh, maybe I'll take out, I'm thinking about going on holiday. Can I borrow some money out the business? And suddenly you're dealing with finance stuff, which I think a lot of people get
That's
into
where
this
people
rut
fall
of.
out. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I need a bigger salary. I need this. So it's like, we have an aligned goal. We just want to grow the business. That's all we're doing. Like we both agree on that. We both agree the way we do that. And it's like everything else is just straight honest.
I presume you two were really close prior to
Yeah,
the business. Yeah, I think that shows because I think a lot of siblings would still have more friction. I dare say you do, right? I'm sure you've had a few ding dongs.
I don't think we've specifically argued. Like we'll debate topics business wise.
Yeah, we have long debates, but we never argue. We never argued before. Like we lived together since we were
8 years
18.
now. Yeah.
Since I was 18. So a long time. But
Yeah, it's wild, man. And this started in a little, so like the first place we lived in was a room that fit just 2 single beds in, and the 2 single beds touched in the middle, like maybe by about 1/4 of an inch. And we slept on these 2 single beds, no TV in a room, and there's 4 of the lads in the house. And we lied to the landlord to say that only one of us lived there. And then we pushed the beds together and made it as one bed when the landlord came around. And like, that's how this started. So it's like, what are you arguing over the fact you've got 18 people?
It's irrelevant.
Like, it's a different thing. So it's such a fun problem to solve now where it's like, how can we grow the business? What's an exciting angle? What can we do? And yeah, I think it's a massive reducer friction because people try and shaft you, mate. Like,
Yeah, mate, business is cutthroat.
One of our
people are dicks
our old
as
accountant called me one day and was like, "Niall's got a girlfriend. You need to put yourself a separate shares agreement in place where you don't really need to tell them. You should organise this now just in case they ever get married." And I sacked her within, probably like 4 hours afterwards. But like, people are trying to get in under your skin, and you just got to have people that are really in your corner, specifically business-wise, I think.
And also who get your relationship as well.
Massively.
Like, understand that there's that hopefully will stand the test of time, and nothing's going to get in the way.
Yeah.
What was the moment when you decided to come back to Manchester or the Northwest?
Yeah, so when we decided we were going to come back to the UK, I think it was finally time that we were doing this remote thing, and everyone loves remote work, but
because you were quite advocates of remote work, right?
Yeah, and
we'd grown the business pretty. I mean, it wasn't terrible. We were doing over £500,000 a year remote.
Yeah, nice.
So it's like,
it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
It was working, and it was like, I think we came to this realization that our team probably now is a little bit older, but we had probably average age of 25, and there was like maybe 15 of us like, I don't want to live the life where like you open your laptop at 9 a.m. You could shut it. Like, remote work works for like 45-year-old people who have kids and like the time at home, and it still doesn't work for a lot of them. And we were like, okay, we came to the decision that we probably should be in office, and so many people told us that as well. Like, so many people gave us the advice, like everything changes when you go in office. And we originally wanted to move to London, and the reason we wanted to move to London is because everyone you see in England who's successful ends up in London. Like, if you want to do drama, you go to London. Finance, you go to London. Marketing, everyone goes to London. And we were like, well, we should go to London. Yeah. And we actually put a deposit down.
Told somewhere.
Literally, and that's what we put a deposit down on an apartment, and we were like ready to move. And ironically, it fell through with nothing to do with us. And we were like, okay, we have this opportunity. And that's when Jack Frimston and Don McGregor kind of sat us down separately, and both were like, look, boys, you boys from the Northwest, like, there's a massive opportunity in Manchester. It's built for what you're doing. Like, you need to start in Manchester. That's where you should have your base. And we said, well, those two are quite clever, so let's give it a go.
Let's listen to them.
And thankfully, Dom then brought us into the Fearless office, gave us a massive opportunity there. And we've massively scaled the team from there in person. And
out of interest, how did you get to know Dom and Jack?
So ironically, now I think about it, we knew Jack through LinkedIn. I think Jack actually started like slating our posts on LinkedIn. I think that's how we first met. Like, he was like in the comments saying it was like the content was terrible. And then one day I messaged him, I was like, I'm in Manchester, let's get lunch. And we got lunch with me, him, and Louis Sanford, who runs Mailman. And we just all really got along. And it was like the first time ever I'd touched someone about business who felt like a normal conversation. Like, he wasn't trying to get anything out of it.
He was actually just a mate. Could be a mate with you.
Exactly. And I was like, this is a relationship we should really nurture. And I actually called Morgan. I was like, you need to meet Jack as well. And we literally, like, I can't remember, next time we were in England, like, we did lunch, me, Jack, and Morgan. And everything just, like, in terms of, like, I'd never had a relationship in business before. We'd never had a relationship. And Jack has massively impacted the business in terms of that. But it was Jack who introduced us then to Dom. Jack did his podcast with Dom and mentioned it to us.
Yeah,
right here. And Dom was like, well, I'd do a 30-minute chat with him. And that's when Dom started advising us. And I think a lot of people know Don McGregor, but not many people know the impact he can have on the business. And he does a lot of advising in general that he doesn't talk about too much. But for us in particular, he was massively impactful in terms of all areas of the organisation, from the brand to the organisational structure, to how we should push ourselves, the brand perception. And what Dom gets that not many people get is that perception thing. Like, the whole process, he's talking us through, like, on the sales call, first process, they DM you on LinkedIn. What's the perception you're giving off when you apply to that? What's the process you go down? At the time, we were doing like 50-minute brand impact assessments. He was like, no big marketing agency is going to do that. Like, that's wrong perception. The pictures, he went through the pitch deck so much with us. Even the name, we always joke. We walked into the room with Don McGregor and we explained our business to him. And he like kind of sat back for a second and we were like, Jesus Christ, what's he going to say? He's going to say like we should pack it in. Like, we're a little bit worried. And he said, boys, brand's way off.
What was it originally?
Ratcliffe Brothers.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, original. Where did he come up with that?
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, I tell you what.
But he sat back and he said that to us. And
because it can't ever be a true brand then, can it? Because I think we were saying before the pod, like, there comes a point when you're growing a business that you, as the sort of leader of the business, need to become like as famous as you can be in your influential circle.
But the brand has to be a standalone.
Yeah, your brand has to overtake you.
He gave us a 4-week challenge. So he went, boys, brand's way off. He went, let's meet again in 4 weeks. I want you to present something to me that you think could carry this forward. And that's when we went away. We sat down, we came up with Noticed, where companies got to get noticed, had this whole feel, did the whole rebrand, new logos, new colours, new everything. And then we brought it to Dom and he just went, oh, like, bang on the money. Like, that's exactly what we want to be.
And that was the thing we most appreciated was it was a really tough conversation initially. Like he was really, really honest. And I don't think many people will like that. And we literally sat in the car, we got 2 Tesco meal deals, and we sat in the car.
Shout out Tesco meal deals.
We got 2 Tesco meals, and we sat in the car and we're like, we can't drive home right now. We need to second just to like process that. And we were like, we were really against it almost. We were like, why has he just told us the brand's bad? Like we love the Ratcliffe, but there's Warner Bros, right? There's Warner Bros. Like, why can't we be that? And the longer we sat there and talked through it, we were like, he's probably right. And
and he's not doing it through from a place of being malicious, is he either? He's doing it 'cause he's trying to help.
Slowly but surely, we like wrote down. I think I've got a note still on my phone. I mean, like wrote down like everything he said. And, like, we just got to get this down on paper. And like the more we went through every single point, we were like, yeah, he's right. It was like organisational structure is completely wrong. Okay, we're gonna have to change that. Brand's completely wrong. And it was like virtually the whole business needed like gutting and reforming. And I think since we initially talked to Don McGregor, we've definitely doubled, if not like close to tripled the revenue.
But that's the beauty of Manchester as well, is that people don't understand that there's like 2 separate countries, but basically London is its own country and then there's the rest of the UK. And people don't realise that actually Manchester is this place where people will support you. There's a different vibe to the city, whereas London's suits and like finance, Manchester's baggy jeans and creativity, and like people, you can get access to a Don McGregor who's scaled Social Chain 750 people.
Help you, like,
they'll jump on, would you?
That's what I mean.
That
People like
free.
You want other people to succeed.
Jack's another good example. Like Jack had a way bigger business than we did, and he was like, yeah, let's go for dinner. Like they're really accessible people. They jump on. No one's got really any ego, and there are the odd person that you wouldn't want to meet, but most people will jump on, give you advice, meet in town. It's a small place. Everyone knows everyone. And I'm just so glad that we made that jump to Manchester as opposed to kind of getting drowned out in that feel in London.
And it gives you like genuine, like an authentic story to tell as well. You guys from the, brothers from the Northwest, and you're building like hopefully a mega business in the Northwest, right? Which is, I think you mentioned it earlier, like imagine if you 2 brothers from Northwest go to London.
Go to
fucking
London.
what?
Start marketing agency. It's like,
nice one, lads.
Yeah, cheers. You enjoy that. There's no story there at all.
Yeah, it's the place to be in the UK, especially with that Social Chain story. I know we mentioned it before, but like Social Chain growing in Manchester, it really gives us that feel for, you have to be able to see that someone's done it to know it's possible. And like we have this like real first-hand account of it's possible. Like we're in the office with Dom, we're in Manchester. I can drive past we walk past the Social Chain offices to get the tram in the morning. Like it's possible, it's real. Like you can grow a business, and like we've gone from a couple of people to nearly 20 in the last few months, and we started signing clients like the NHS, started signing massive clients, and it's like, right, well, it's doable, and you can do it in Manchester and build in Manchester and get great people, and it's just such an exciting feel. So yeah, I'm super, super glad we did it. One of the things that I think has, helped me specifically is that over the last few years, we had this concept, I don't know if you've seen it online, but like this concept of doing one big thing every year. And like one thing that we've been picking up on quite recently is that we pick a goal to throw in the calendar every year that's fun, that's exciting, that stretches you. Personal goal outside of work. So like, for example, my first one, I took a cage fight in the US. I did an 8-week camp and fought a guy in a cage. And that's completely outside of work, but like real pushes
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, it was an MMA fight, not just a cage fight.
Did you win?
But, yeah, TKO round 3.
Allegedly. Yeah.
And then the next year we did our first marathon on 4 weeks' notice. Like we were in Porto and it said Porto Marathon, and it was going past our house, and we were like, let's run that. And then the same thing this year with Ironman, you put that in the calendar, you get that done. Next year, we're going to try and learn to fly a plane, and like putting those things in the calendar, I think outside of work has been massively helpful for just general growth. Whereas like you can get caught up in this work thing constantly where it's like, how do we grow the business? How do we grow the agency? Everything we consume, everything we talk about.
I think that's interesting as well, because like my point earlier about it sounded like you were like solely focused on work, but you're not. You've got these other like achievements and milestones that you're trying to hit and targets, and I think that's really important. Like I say, it's not just professional growth, then it's personal growth as well, mental growth, literal physical growth, everything.
Yeah, bang on.
It is interesting. I feel like we talked about it earlier about a lot of people like talk about like the work from home, work-life balance and stuff now. And it does make me wonder where it'll take things in like 5-10 years, because it doesn't feel like a positive trajectory. And like, even when we do interviews with younger people now, it's like, what are their priorities? They're asking the interview. They're not asking like, what's the progression?
Your expectations warped, isn't it? As well,
it's just like
crazy sometimes.
We've interviewed hundreds of people over the last few years, and the amount of people who probably had a good skill set, but the things they prioritise were like nothing to do with progression. And I say we'll never hire someone who doesn't want to grow themselves. And like it's so important for me that every single person in our organization is surrounded by people who like inspire them, excite them, are pushing them forward. And it does make me worry a little bit where it's like, yes, everyone needs to be healthy mentally.
I think there's a general narrative in there where it's like mental health shouldn't. It's a delicate topic, this one, but like that mental health should never be sacrificed for the sake of work. And I largely agree with that. But there's also that other notion of like, generally people don't build and do amazing things without some sacrifice. Not saying that should necessarily be mental health, but like that sort of short-term sacrifice for building something amazing, and the positive impacts that can outweigh that short-term sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean, nothing good ever came on the other side of something easy as well, which I think a lot of people think they confuse hardship for unhappiness, which is like, it's not about an initial, oh, we're super unhappy. Well, actually, yes, we might be going through some initial hardship that's self-imposed. But now, especially when you go into bigger tasks, because you've had that self-imposed hardship, well, you can take on bigger tasks knowing that I'm the kind of person that could get through the previous hardship.
And it's funny, isn't it? You look back at those, like the times that genuinely were the hardest times when you two are holding hands in bed at night or whatever in that little box.
That was last night.
But that you look back though, and they're the bits you go, actually, that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
like,
great.
We did,
Yeah, you look back on it fondly. And I know Daniel Priestley talks about so much nowadays about like the like almost lack of entrepreneurship in England, and I do wonder like I didn't know, like I got entrepreneurship from America. I didn't get it from the UK. I didn't get it from growing up. I didn't go to school. I went to a grammar school in Skipton. Like I was around some very like elite people at the time. No one was talking about they wanted to go and start a business. They were going to Oxford and Cambridge. That's what everyone did. You went to grammar school. You went to Oxford and Cambridge. You went to become a doctor. You'd made it. Like, and it does make me wonder. Like, I'm not sure what the UK needs to do to get that direction, but it doesn't feel like there's going to be a new generation of entrepreneurs coming up anytime soon either.
No, and it's like something I think about. It's like how do we change that? And I think there's a part of an element of like publicizing like these stories, for example. Like hopefully people listen to this will be go, shit. The opportunities are out there if you are willing to take the risk almost.
It's realizing that people aren't better than you are. It's like the big thing that Niall and I first realized.
Massive.
It's like you come from Burnley and you're like, oh, there's these people out there, these CEOs out there, these people in suits out there they have everything together.
And you think they're like these amazing, high performing.
They don't exist.
Everyone's winging it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not exist. Every single person that we meet, all the way up the ladder, and now obviously we've been to a couple of big conferences and we've met massive clients and we've met all these people, and every single person is just a completely normal person who attacks whatever situations in front of them. Some better mindset than others, some better situations than others, some went to private school, yeah, whatever. But like every single person is like, there's no such thing as adults, is something George Mack says. And I think it's really interesting to think, well, we grew up thinking that there was these people and then there was us. And you realize like actually it's just all the same type of person. Like you've just got to be able to be like, right, well, what's an avenue that I can use? What's a niche I can work at? Like where am I useful? And we talk about online business all the time. Fine, great, yeah, start a marketing agency, whatever. But it's also just as easy to be like, well, you know, I can cut the lawns of my neighbours or whatever, and I can create a niche, or I can do X, Y, Z. I really love, like we were joking the other day, there's a woman that sings nursery rhymes on YouTube that's ended up with a multi-million-dollar business singing nursery rhymes. And like, it's just these small things to be like, right, well, those people aren't any better than you. They've just decided to go for something.
And also they've been through that ugly bit at the start where you're not doing very well and people are like, what the fuck are you doing? The sort of judgment that happens in those early stages, and then you get over the crest and they go, what are you doing? There's suddenly all of something really interesting.
But if you're looking for comfortability, then that moment never comes. If you're like, oh, actually, I've had a stressful day today. I actually deserve 6 weeks off, and also I need this, and a massage, and I actually have to be in Bali. Yeah, perfect. Cheers, thanks for coming. But like the good part is on the other side of that difficult thing that you just talked about, which is like, we're from Burnley. Like I was in so many group chats. Like when we first started our business, like that football team I talked about in Mansfield, a couple of the lads from the team were sending our website link around as a joke. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what is this? And like calling us out in general. Yeah. And then the exact same people, when an article comes out saying multi-million-dollar business, Don McGregor comes and advises, are like putting it on their story, like, oh, great to see
proud of these lads.
Lads from our hometown that do great things. Like, we're in the Burnley Express, and the Burnley Express the article went viral online because like everybody from the town was like, oh my god, these two lads. And I had like a PE teacher at my old school reach out to me and be like, congrats, who'd thrown me off like the football team I had a terrible relationship with. And you've just got to realize that actually it's just You just got to keep what we always say, like, we're on a train and like I'm going to the destination either way, like whether you get on it or off it, like best of luck to you. And you really do have to have that mentality. So like getting through that initial hardship, ignoring that initial bit of touch that everyone calls you out, that's where the best stuff comes on the other side of it.
It's funny because we had a Burnley Express article that went out, and it's like the local rag. And it went viral on Facebook, and like we didn't. I'd love to say we did it. We didn't. It just like organically. Yeah. I don't have Facebook, and it was like our cousin had sent it to our mum, and then she was like, "Oh, this article's like thousands of likes and comments." And like it was so curious to see how people come out of the woodwork. I got a photo of me when I was like 15 on a night out. Someone had sent it and been like, "How's it going, Mr. Businessman?" I was like, "I have not talked to you for like 7 years. Like, I can't believe you've still got my contact."
Yeah.
Like, and it is interesting, but I wish more people like us from Burnley could sit down with someone who was successful in business. Like, it almost should be mandatory in school to sit down with someone and have a chat. We always joke that we had dinner with Daniel Priestley in Belfast through one of our clients. And like, you see Daniel Priestley on Diary of a CEO, and he's so sharp, he's so switched on. You're like, this person, I could never be him. But then you have dinner with him, and you're like, do you know, he's actually normal. He's a normal bloke.
Yeah, because in the nicest way, that it's a performance, isn't it? Right, and that's him at his absolute sharpest.
Yeah.
But when he's chilling in his boxes, you know, it's different.
We were having dinner with him, and he was just like, "Oh, he's a normal bloke," and he came over, and he just done a speech at this conference, and he was like, "Oh, how did you feel about it?" Like, I'm not sure the audience resonated.
Yeah,
and
it was like,
"Oh,
self-doubt."
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, he's just a normal bloke who's learned some stuff, done a bit of business," and it's like. I quite enjoy school. People are very anti-schooling system. I had a good time, but like I do wish it was almost like a moment in there people could sit down with someone and just be like, "Oh, this is what's possible," just so you know. And it's like it's not a crazy thing to do.
It's interesting because I'm similar to you guys from Scunthorpe and like never had any of that. And then it took me. I joined the police at 18. Did that for like nearly 10 years. Then went into law, and that's why I moved to Manchester. It was only there when I was like, "Oh, these guys are super clever." And I got there, and I was like, "Don't get me wrong, they are clever," but I was like, "Oh, they're not as clever as I thought they would be."
Yeah.
And
Achievable.
and I was like, "Oh fuck, I can hold my own here." And it was that weird like movement of, I guess, just mindset more than anything. Where I was like, "Oh, actually, maybe I can." And then I was like, "Actually, I've got it, but this is fucking boring. Maybe like I should do something myself." And I was later 20s at that point. So it's cool to see you guys have got that so early as well. That's like exciting because I like to think where you'll be in another 10 years.
God,
that's exciting.
Next Christmas.
Yeah, but that's exciting because it's cool. I think, I'd like to think more about how we can do more for people in schools, particularly those underserved areas where they don't really see that.
I was gonna say you've got kids. Obviously, they already get to see more entrepreneurship. Yeah. But like, where do you stand on that? Would you introduce them to entrepreneurship, or you just like let them go their own path? It's an interesting one.
Yeah, good question. Obviously, this is meant to be about you guys.
Don't worry, it's interesting.
I've got mixed views on it because I'm kind of like part of my journey's been the struggle.
Yeah,
interesting.
And I kind of, in the nice possible way, want them to struggle a bit. I don't want them to benefit from my success in the immediately obvious way of like nepotism, because I feel like I fought my entire life against nepotism. So despite being a white bald man, I got onto like the accelerator program of this law firm because I was the first like generation to go to university.
Yeah,
it's like that was like their diversity scheme, and I'm like, dudes, I'm a white male. Like,
I like it.
Yeah, but it's like that's how diverse
I think
was.
More white men should be.
In law, exactly. And I was like, fuck me, if this is like that's what they're ticking off as diverse, then we're in a real bad place. So the whole like nepotism thing's always like bothered me. So I think, I kind of like I want them to enjoy, I guess, the benefits of like the success I've had, but they're gonna have to like still work fucking hard like chores. I'm gonna drill them, man.
We worry about that because we obviously have a little brother, and it's like he's 15, so he's like about to do his GCSEs I think next year. And it's a case of like, well, what do you bring him into the business and like, oh, just take this job? Do you get him to does he have to take another job, and like, does he even want to be in it? Do you encourage him to do it? There's so many interesting dynamics there.
It's hard, isn't it?
Because I'm
like, everyone needs to have a shit job.
You've got
to
working for us is a shit job. I can confirm.
Yeah, it can be the chief toilet cleaner. But no, like they've got to have like a job that you hate almost. Because then you go.
We've done it.
Then if he like was lucky enough to be taken into the business under the brothers title,
no equity tubes, zero.
Then at least he'd appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, and
agreed.
it's
Well,
something I
if you
always
just
think
swan
about.
straight in, he might not.
Interesting enough, like a lot of the entrepreneurs I talk to, it's like they have two things that they find really difficult. The first is like, what do they do with their kids? And the second is, what do they do post-exit? And I think it's really funny watching these really successful people just flail when they're like, right, well, now I have these kids. Do I spend on them? Do I not spend on them? Do I do this? Do they go to private school? Do they not go to private school? And then just like struggling to do what to do on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
I think it's really one thing that we're
especially
doing
like
is trying to work on it.
Well, yeah, and we could chat offline about this. I'm
Yeah,
sure. Like, it's a genuine conversation we have quite a lot. Is you sell a business, but if you've come from no money, you don't know then what to do.
Yeah.
So like, there's no training for that bit either. So you're like,
how to be wealthy is a
yeah,
different
like,
thing.
and I'll sound like, don't be a knobhead. I don't want my kids to be a knobhead. We all know rich knobhead kids. Like my kids cannot.
That's going to be
that.
my kids. Yeah. I'm talking, just to be clear as crystal, I'm talking
fully entitled.
Purple blazer, leather
Two cars for
briefcase,
you.
boarding school, proper pricks. No, I know what you mean. It's really tough, I think.
I think it was Sam Parr who said like, "Oh, I don't want to give my kid like the burden of wealth," and it's like it's funny because like we've worked so.
But you don't
hard.
give them the burden of poverty either.
Yeah,
do you?
like, we worked so
that's
hard
worse.
to get there, and then it's like, and you realise, oh, we're not quite there yet where we'd like to be. But like, let's say you do go on for the next 10 years and it is very successful. It's like, well, like, do you push that onto your kids? Like, do they get your success then? Like, what does that do to
And how
them?
do you teach them a work ethic? And
Yeah,
things
it's
like that?
really like it almost. We were in such a blessed position growing up in like a working class family that we weren't in abstract poverty. Do you know what I mean? We had a great family around us, and we just had enough of a platform that we could launch off. Do you know what I mean? Where like we had a supportive family, where also we weren't. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing where like you can just if you just have parents that have jobs enough to keep you by and
love you and all that sort of stuff. That is a privilege in its own right.
Minus
well,
the wealth is like almost like a perfect place to do something, but then it's
I
like
agree.
I'm not sure what the second generation.
But then the alternative to that is if you'd have started from, say you might not have had it, but say you still had that work ethic you've got now, but you'd have started from a position where your parents were quite wealthy, you might be even further ahead. And that's the
Amazing
question
things, right?
of like,
Now I'm
where
the
do
Prime Minister.
where do you start in the race sometimes? And that's where like I sort of see my hopeful long-term goal of trying to help people who have a worse start to catch up. That's like what I'd like to spend more time doing.
Yeah, me too.
Love it. Right.